Nigerian, and if you know Nigerians, then you know there are basically only two courses you can do: medicine and engineering. I'm a lawyer, so how did I get there? So the pressure was really high on me to do medicine, but for so many reasons, sciences, I hated sciences. The sight of blood is very much a very scary thing for me, so I had no inclination whatsoever to do medicine. However, I felt that the only way in which I could do something which I wanted to do, like law, I wasn't entirely sure if I was going to do law, was to go to the other extreme. So I told my dad I was going to go into music and become a pop star. And this sort of scared my dad a little bit and said, okay, if you don't want to do medicine, would you do law? And I thought, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And I think LA Law was one of mine, probably way before your time, but LA Law was one of my favorite television programs. And not so much the glamour of the program, but the fact that you had people who had to think on their feet. So it was using words as a weapon, which I'd always found quite fascinating. That's what sort of pushed me to do law. I didn't feel it was the right decision throughout university because, you know, the university is so very different from school. So you get used to doing well in school, at least not too badly, and then you go into university and you think, this is wrong. There must be something wrong with me. I'm not able to keep up as easily as I used to. Or, you know, you think, well, I watched LA Law and they obviously were having much more fun on the program than I am having now. This is hell. This is definitely not what I want to do. But, you know, there are some times when you're in class and, you know, your lecturer is saying something and you're connecting and you definitely feel, yeah, this is where I'm meant to be. So it was, yeah, up and down. I think I was quite used to feeling like a failure. Because, you know, you get your first year, you're really enthusiastic about the whole thing. You're in university, you're doing law. I mean, even though you're not doing medicine, you're still, if you're doing law, you're sort of, the assumption is you're slightly, you know, smarter than most other people. So we sort of felt a little bit smug first year, and then you get your results. And then you begin to think, I'm not going to be able to do this. And I do find that a lot with students that I teach now in first year thinking, I'm not going to be able to graduate. And it's just a phase you go through. You have to, you know, because it makes you work harder. There's a difference between school and university. And if you don't get your results and realize that you need to change your reading habits and study habits, then you're not going to achieve what you're meant to achieve. So yeah, I did feel slightly, you know, a bit of a failure, a little bit incompetent. I think my parents helped a lot because they're very much, they're quite well educated. So my mom's a consultant radiologist and my dad's a professor of statistics. So he works in the university and he's used to seeing students fail. So he wasn't really sort of shocked at what I thought was my level of failure. So, you know, you go from school where you're getting scores of about 100%, 97%, and then you go into law, which is rather subjective. So the best marks I would give out would be 78 anyway %. That is me as a teacher. And when you start off, you don't really know what's expected of you. So you're getting marks of about 55, 48, and you think, yes, your brain has gone to sleep on you. But it hasn't. And my dad just said, you know, just go on, I'm proud of you. So it seemed that he wasn't even affected by my marks, and that allowed me to relax and put in my best. And that helped me move forward. I also happened to go to university at a time when the academic staff were also trying to get more, they wanted more funding for the universities. So the result of all these things is that the school used to get closed down quite a bit. So the academic year for we lost an academic year somewhere in between the school being closed down. So law was supposed to be a 5-year course. We nearly spent 7 trying to graduate. So that was in itself discouraging. However, when we got back to school, it was so much fun again. Because, Ile-Ife is supposed to be the cradle of life. So according to the Yoruba people, Ile-Ife is where the world started. So we are, where the world started, according to legend. So there are lots of things that happen just because of that. So you've got a lovely drama department where we'd go and watch dramas. They had this one, Shango, one of the deities. So they had a play, and the singing. Because I was part of a choir, I was part of a drama group. So there was so much that was not discouraging. So I think that balanced out the spending slightly longer than usual. And I think because I consider myself I observe people, I observe life, and try and learn stuff from that. The fact that you've gone through things that are hard just makes you a stronger person. So things are discouraging, but you then realize that all you need to do is live through it. The electricity was fine actually, because the university has its own electricity generating sort of system. So it was a water system. So it started out fine. Whenever the non-academic staff went on strike, they used to cut off the light and electricity. But that was, but the water was a big thing. It was really, it was a massive thing. My first year, because growing up in, like I said, my dad is a professor, so we grew up in an environment which is much, surrounded by university people. So it was sort of sheltered at the time, and we never had water problems, or if you had electricity problems, you get your gen out. So I never was, aware of that as a significant problem until I went to university, and I had to go and fetch water in a stream. I think that was sort of the turning point in my life, and I knew, I'm not at home anymore. That was a big thing my first year, and we had to go to, and it was not even a big stream. There wasn't plenty of water. So that was a big thing, but I think the fact that I wasn't the only one who had to do it. So, and this is why I think, as human beings, we need to look outward rather than inward. So rather than thinking, yes, this is something I don't want to have to do, why don't I think about it as this is something we can all do together? I think my first year, or maybe my second year, because the first year we tend to do lots of other non-law subjects. So my second year, I think it's a gradual process. I can't say there's this particular moment when I thought, yes, now I love the law. But you begin to understand. I think the first time you understand the case, and you think, that makes sense. Because law is about changing your way of thinking. It's really learning to use your words as an instrument for change. Because law is all about the words. So you have to think, before you get, whatever you write down, you have to think about it. So it's a lot of thinking. And it is training your brain to be smarter. That is basically what the study of law is. And then when you realize that this is making you smarter, you can see things which other people cannot see. So, you go back home, because I left home to go to university, obviously. So, you go back home and you talk to your friends, and you realize you're no longer on the same page. Then you feel a little bit smug, obviously. And, they can't call you out on it and say, well, that's the wrong case, because they don't know it. So, but being able to do that, I think, is the first step. Realizing that you've actually learned something that can be used. An argument with your friends is not really very productive. But in a sense, it does tell you something about what you've learned, that you are able to do things with your brain that you couldn't do before. So I think that would be the first step. Well, there are two elements to that, obviously. School in Nigeria is very difficult, because I think the standards are exceptionally high, and we're not proud enough of that as Nigerians. I think that our standards are exceptionally high, and one of the reasons for that is there's so many of us. I think Nigeria is supposed to have a population of 180 million now, and as someone who went to law school, you have each year from law school. So after you finish your undergraduate, then you go to the law school and become a barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Each year you graduate law school graduates about 4,000 students. So think about, you've got 180 million people, and then you've got 4,000 per year. You need to be really, to do the hard work to pass. Yeah. So, after going through all the university hard work, having to go and fetch water in the stream and still having to pass exams, I then went to the law school. And the law school is, so we started in October and the exams are in August. And you've got so much to learn because the law school is about procedure. So you learn civil procedure, criminal procedure, land, evidence, stuff like that. So it's about what the rules are. So it's slightly different from what you learn as an undergraduate in university. And that was hard. That was really, really hard because the first lecture we had, the head of that particular campus told us that law school is hard. You have to start reading from first day you have to read, and I read every single day. I would probably read about 4 hours a day when we had lectures, and when we had no lectures, about 8 hours a day from October till the exams. And it was quite funny because the day after the exams I realized, I think it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, I hadn't done any reading, and I panicked. I thought, I haven't done any reading today. Oh, I've done the exams. So that was really, that was the sort of the last academic thing I did before I went to do my master's. That was exceptionally hard, and the fail rate is exceptionally high. I mean, a friend of mine said he wasn't going to read anymore after the exam, that he wouldn't even read signboards. It was that hard. But so when I started my master's, there was a lot of reading to do. So I did my master's in Lancaster, and we had no exams, so you had to write essays. So reading for 4 hours a day at that point wasn't really that difficult for me. So in that sense, the ability to put the hard work in was not difficult. But on the other hand, the level of analysis required, because like I said, Nigeria does, I think, slightly depend too much on rote learning. So being able to actually do the analysis and then express the analysis was something I had to learn. But if you are able to put in the hard work, you find, because I think my the first essay I did wasn't too good, but the next one was much, much better. And I got a distinction in my master's. And I would say proportionally, Nigerians probably get more distinctions than most of them, if you group people by nationalities. And that's because they've learned how to put the hard work in. So it's easy to make changes when you know how to do the hard work.